Eric and Alex at Coram Farm. We are a year 3 Oklahoma flower farm that sells retail market bouquets from our roadside.
Didn't we pivot to year 4? No, we waited.
No,
when did
we can't do. No, it's when we're planting.
Season end.
Season end planting for next year. We'll pivot to year 4.
Yeah.
That was the consensus. So we're still year 3 and it's nearing the end of July. And so we are already ready to do our summer in review video. And many of you might be like, but there's still August left and July isn't over. But we take August off. So really our summer season ends in in a week and a half. Okay, you guys, this is amazing.
This is our new addition.
We are so pro baby on our farm, baby. We added 2 new baby kittens to the farm. That was Luna and we have Hunter. So if they make an appearance, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am about it. They are so sweet and feisty and we're trying to acclimate them to the farm right now because they're new. We've only had them for 5 days. So
our neighbor had a cat that surprisingly came home pregnant one day.
Yeah, a little hussy.
And
we got 2 of them.
5 little kittens. We got 2 of them.
So we're just thrilled. So that's what. So if you see us darting our eyes around, it's because we're a little bit on kitten watch.
It's been 1 week, so we're.
They're so precious.
Yeah.
Yay for babies. So what I was saying was in a week and a half, we're done with summer. So we're in a really good position to talk about everything that we grew, what went well, what didn't. We did a similar video like this for spring where we
called it the an honest review of flower farming mid-season chat. So we didn't really call it a summer review.
Last year.
I just mean we've done.
Oh yeah, we've done this
kind of video where we didn't.
Old hat. We've been YouTubers now for 3 seasons.
It was a good video that we had last year.
It was a good video. We ranted about bugs a lot. So if you want bug chat, watch last year's mid-season review. But what I was saying is we did a spring version of this video where we went through each individual flower. I'll link that in the description if you didn't see that. Also, I'll link in the description if we're going through all of these flowers and you're thinking well, why don't you grow this? Or why didn't you talk about this flower? I will link our videos that share everything that we grow and then also everything that we don't grow and why some common flowers might not be listed in this video and why we choose not to grow them. So if you're new to our channel, that's, I think, some really helpful watching that you can do after this video. But we're going to talk about summer flowers. Summer flowers.
When did we do this spring in review?
Early June.
And everybody was like, it's not the end of spring.
Yeah, and we're like, it's Oklahoma, so June is summer for us. June is summer here.
I feel like there's 5 seasons in Oklahoma.
What is it?
Well, there's your typical winter.
No, but there is more to winter. There's Arctic blast where we pretend we're Wisconsin and Wisconsin rolls their eyes at us that lasts 2 weeks. And then we're more normal zone.
Right, but I'm still going to say it's winter.
Well, yeah, we want to have the street cred to say we have winter.
Spring is 6 weeks here.
Right.
There's summer 1.
Which is May.
Which is May and June-ish. It's rainy.
Yeah.
And then the rain turns off sometime in June.
Yes.
And then there's summer 2.
Which is the
surface of the sun.
Yeah.
And it's the grasshopper's time. And we just we're
not
interested in that time outside.
No.
We're trying to shut it all down.
Yes.
And get away.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. You guys, again, we're looking because Luna's chasing her tail. It's so cute. Okay, so let's just launch because people always say no banter. Let's just launch.
Launch.
So first,
nothing but substantive content. Sorry.
Yeah, no jokes.
No jokes. No personality. Brass tacks.
Just we need a teleprompter to read notes. But some of these first initial flowers have a little, that's why I'm going to start with them. They have a little bit of overlap in spring and summer because Eric joked, May is really warm for us. So we do have a bit of an overlap between what some people would consider summer flowers versus spring, but that's just growing condition dependent. So the first one on our list is sunflowers. We talked a lot about them in our spring video.
Failed experiment.
Yeah, so we talked a lot in the last video, but I think it's worth mentioning sunflowers one more time, only because we did have sunflowers through almost all of June and they were really important. They were a big bulk focal in our bouquets, and so they were important in May, but they were also very important in June. But why did you groan?
Well, for those who know us, we were trying to figure out how to fill the Oklahoma gap between spring and summer 1. which is a flower gap for us. We're not blessed here with great productivity around Mother's Day. Unless you have a good mature crop of peonies, which we may never have.
Oh my gosh, we're not talking about peonies in this video.
But we tried to plant really early.
Yeah.
Assuming that they're about 65 to 75 day flowers.
Early March we planted.
Yeah, and we were still in a frost situation.
We covered them a couple times.
And we really hoped that they would get to Mother's Day and be ready by Mother's Day. They weren't.
They weren't.
And then we also hoped that, okay, we didn't reach Mother's Day. We hoped that they would give us nice, like sequential 1 week
because we did
increments. Because we had in our revenue, our crop plan, this is the important part.
Okay.
Of why you need to get the real data and like,
yeah, not just the seed packet.
we should just talk about it a little bit because we were talking about,
okay.
We like to say America, the US is like one country, but this is an enormous place, people.
Yeah.
Like the growing conditions in our place is like saying we grow in southern France, and then other people are like, well, we're in
northern Poland or something.
That's your different countries from where we are.
That's a good point.
So we're so big that like we're very focused on here in the High Plains region. We're going to be pretty different as you head into the Belgium region, the Netherlands and Deutschland.
I don't know.
Whatever.
See, we're talking about Europe again.
Denmark.
We have Danish listeners, so they're going to roll their eyes at us.
But see, in Europe, you guys are very used to the like country differences that really make things feel foreign. Here in the United States, you don't understand the scope and size of this country. It's huge.
Yeah. Well, and therefore our topography differences.
Topography and climate. So we're learning our very specific place, and for some reason, all the sunflowers were just like. The ones that we planted in March, they waited like, what, 85, 90 days?
Yeah, like I think we planted, the first succession was like March 6th, and it bloomed right after Mother's Day. But then the row that we planted like March 20th also bloomed that week. So like the 3 weeks of stagger.
we got 3 weeks at once.
Yeah.
And then everything else also kind of came pretty quickly
like
within
twos.
About, like it just... And then they got
worse.
They got worse.
Yeah, they got worse.
Like the first 3, like they were
the right height, they were the right size, and they got
But then you had so many.
And we didn't have a cooler.
We didn't have a giant cooler that we're sitting next to.
So
the way it worked is that there was like, we wanted 10 weeks.
All through July.
Like we wanted them, and like you calculated the dates on our revenue sheet. And we should still have them right now.
I know.
But we're learning, and we learned last year when we planted the fall sunflowers that they also were really fast.
I think our last sunflowers
and shorter
were like June 20th or something.
Right.
So
we had we don't really have an answer on sunflowers for like anybody listening, but other than to say like they seem to be a very particular unique flower. You got to kind of figure out their timing, and what we'll do next year will be like, we probably won't plant in the 1st of March just because they were extra work.
Sure.
And it seems like if you planted mid-March, you're still getting them around the same time. That's what we learned, because like the 3 rows in, we're still ready at the same time. So why do that? So we're going to start later next year.
So that was a lesson learned of a problem to solve, is we want sunflowers all the time.
But instead of using the same seed, we're probably going to move to a different
we're going to trial some different. So in the past, all I've done is pro cuts, because that's kind of industry standard that you hear. But we're going to trial for our fall season. Which
Don't tell them.
No, I'm not going to tell them exactly, but I'm just saying, like, we're going to try some new varieties for the fall to see how we like them, to see if they,
You have to watch another video.
Also, the cats find my dress the funniest thing, so we'll see how much is showing up in camera. But if you see weird movement,
they're right under her.
Their cats are under my dress.
You gave them a little tent, so they liked it.
But so that was the negative about sunflowers. The positive is...
Well, before you go on...
Oh, okay, sorry.
You had asked, we used all our superior influence and clout to talk to the legit sunflower farmers to ask what they grow.
Yeah. You told me not to say.
Well, I know. I'm just teasing it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well.
They don't grow pro cuts.
We're gonna make a fall video on sunflowers, and we'll talk about what the big farmers grow and what we think about them, and if that's what we're gonna grow in the future, or if it's just like, I kind of like the pro cuts better. We'll do all of that fun stuff. But the positive about sunflowers is they are workhorses. They are so profitable. They are so wonderful in bouquets, and when we didn't have them, I really felt it. So this is definitely a problem to solve because of how valuable they are to us. And Eric loved being able to direct sow sunflowers all season. And you just had that dialed in so fast and efficiently.
It completely works, yeah.
Yeah, I'm never starting a sunflower.
Just for those who'd understand, if you go back to last year's sunflower videos.
Yeah.
We had like one late fall, I think it was.
That's when we first used the jang.
That's when we first borrowed our neighbor's jang and gave it a shot. But previous to that, we were planting in 6-inch fabric, manual transplanting, 2-week-old
what rooks
things.
We were.
So, the good product still.
Totally a good
We produced a good sunflower. Like, I'm not going to say like we produced a poor sunflower. Even the ones that were later were still.
Well, it's the labor and time that people don't always properly account for in determining profitability that really matters as you scale up. And so we needed to graduate to direct sowing.
We need full rows.
We did it this year. It worked really well.
It was weird because you were like, I don't think I'm going to have enough. And then you're like, I have too many.
Yeah, it was very bipolar. It was just like, I'm drowning.
But then as we got into like June, you were like, I don't have enough.
Yeah.
And the zinnias weren't going yet. So.
Right. And because we didn't have a cooler and because sunflowers are so tall and kind of awkward and I needed the cooler for other things, I was leaving more out in the field than I otherwise could have cut because I simply didn't have a place for them. And cutting a sunflower on a Tuesday with no cooler to put them in, why even cut it? Because I can't use it Friday night. And so,
do you know how much you think you got from a row?
I think I got 60%, which is not the number I want to shoot for. Like with a cooler next year, I want to get closer to 80. As a goal. I just was leaving out more truly because of storage problems. And we probably could have sold more too. And so
how long do sunflowers store in a cooler? 2 weeks?
No, more like 5. If you cut them right at the right stage, at that petal lift stage with like
they're still closed.
They start to open a little bit and say hi. 5 days-ish. So like a Monday cut I could use Saturday and that would be good.
I do remember that last year when we came back to start our fall.
Yeah, from our vacation.
And like they were ready the day after the first weekend or something. It was kind of funky, right?
Right.
Where it was like you wanted them, but they weren't quite ready for that first sales day. They were ready the next day. And you were just like, I've got an entire week.
Yeah.
Now it's like we can put them in a cooler and we can wait. So they buy you that kind of that wiggle room, that margin.
The cooler is just such a blessing.
I know we didn't tell you shouldn't buy a cooler in your first year.
No, don't do that. This is like towards the end of year 3.
Munchkins down here.
They are just let them be. They're living their best life. They like me.
Right here, just playing.
No one else cares but us.
Hi.
I'm so into it though. Okay, so next one is snapdragons. So we grew Group 1 Madam Butterfly, Costa, Chantilly snapdragons for the spring, but we also in our tunnel, we also field planted Potomacs in March that bloomed towards the end of May and into June. And so I'm counting the Potomac snapdragons as a summer flower because they were included with the sunflowers that we're talking about and they came after, the ranunculus and all your classic spring flowers. And so I'm talking specifically about Potomac snapdragons right here, the ones that love the heat. They do well in a field. Planted them out in March. We only buy plugs. I bought a box of snapdragons, so it was 3 trays. I think the trays were 2 10s, and that was a full row. So 3 trays, a full 60-foot row. I did 3 different colors. Off the top of my head, it was rose, lavender, and pink Potomac. They were slightly staggered in their bloom time within maybe like 5 or so days of each other, maybe a week of each other. But they still all bloomed really close. No, you just bit me.
I was like, you're being very concentrated.
I was trying not to resist.
Cat was like wrapped around her ankle.
I don't want people to be like, enough with the cat. So I was trying to resist the bite, but that one was a little tender. I'm going to have you put a picture on the screen for this edit because I'm so proud of them. These were like 3 feet tall.
The ones in the tunnel?
No, the field Potomacs. The stem thickness was perfect. The blooms were huge. They were tall and straight. The colors were amazing. They looked so great with the yellow sunflowers and our status. I loved them. The only disappointing part was it was like a flash in the pan. It was maybe, and again, we didn't have a cooler. And so it was maybe 2.5 weeks that we got to enjoy them. And so they're 100% all-stars for us. I just need to do a better job crop planning next year of staggering them a bit more in our plug orders and our planting so that we could have, Potomacs all of June.
I think what you're saying is we're learning here just how quickly they go from not ready to ready.
Yes.
To need to be harvested.
To it's over.
And so like,
yeah.
When we first, like even this year, early this year, we were like, we can get by another year without some major cooling situation. And we're very quickly, in all these flowers that you can store, proven wrong. Just absolutely.
Maybe this was the wrong choice. It's like a window curtain for an indoor cat, I guess.
Oh my gosh.
It's fine.
We've just learned that it's an essential, which is why I did a sprint build of a cooler to get it done.
Yes.
To get it in action, and it has worked perfectly. The theme of the summer flowers is gonna be, they were great, they came really fast, and we needed ways to move them quickly.
Yeah, you can't hold snapdragons for a long time. Again, it's like kind of like a sunflower in that 5-day-ish range. But when you have like 30 feet going on at once and you only had a couple fridges, if I had the big cooler, I wouldn't have left as many on in the field or perhaps had as much drama, and I could have utilized a bit more. I cut really hard though. I would say versus the sunflowers, the snapdragons, I feel like I cut at least 70%.
Okay.
I wanted them so badly, and they
did
so well. Yeah, I didn't lose a lot to like bug damage. We didn't have thrips or aphids or any problems in the field like we did in the tunnel. They are just awesome. So next year, the goal, again, with problem solving is a better crop plan to stagger so that we have more snapdragons into June, and maybe some different colors. Maybe the colors get darker, or we change the color palette a bit, but like they're a good secondary focal staple for our recipes next year. So Potomac's amazing. And people are gonna ask like, well, how did you get them so tall and big and stuff? I don't totally have an answer. I mean, we planted them. Well, yeah, so we have quality soil. We planted them towards the end of March, which for us, the last frost is mid-April. So they can handle a bit of cold, and we're not getting like hard freezes at that point. So planted end of March, 6-inch spacing. We netted them. I fertilize with a foliar feed every week in the beginning when it's just the green growth. And then once I see the bud form, I just kind of stop really for all of our flowers fertilizing. And that's been it, honestly, that I can't.
Yeah, I mean, we do have to understand that like our county is rated as prime farmland. It's just got a lot more development than maybe some other prime farmland areas put like on the map. And our soil's really good up here.
And people want to run animals more than like.
Yeah, it's black, dark. It's heavier clay, but I mean, not like heavy clay, but like its percentage of clay is higher.
Yeah.
But in general, when I tilled it today, I tilled our sunflower rows to prep the next 4 for the fall planting.
Yeah.
For our September sales. And then we're trying to shut down our annuals field, tilling it. I mean, it's just a nice black soil.
I will say though, the one thing that I know for sure that will affect them is if they get too waterlogged. So you need to have good well draining soil.
We did have some of that.
Yeah, because at the end of the row where we had poor
here.
Drainage. So I think perhaps if you are dealing with like wispy snapdragons or maybe smaller, they might you might
did lose the last 10 feet
because of drainage. So that's what I'm saying is like
we are going to try to solve that. We have a nice slope on our property, and the water kind of settles in the last 5 to 10 feet, which affected our bupleurum.
Not larkspur, bupleurum, snapdragons.
Hey, I got it right.
You were just killing it.
Y'all, I've come so far in a year.
Since year 1, my goodness.
My goodness, I just sit here and I just smile.
You're like, I'm just happy to be here.
I don't know any of these things.
Okay, next one. Next one is status. So we planted status at the same time as the Potomac snapdragons. We planted them at the end of March. I planted a QIS mix, plug mix. We do 9-inch spacing, and status is probably a top 5 flower on the farm for me, honestly. I love them. I love how The bugs don't fuss with them. They produce a ton of stems. They last forever for people. You can store them in the cooler. They're a different, interesting shape for the bouquet. I'm obsessed.
It's like little diamonds, right?
Yeah, it's like a fan on the top. So it
little individual diamonds.
Yeah. So in the bouquet, when all of the blooms are like circular, it's kind of cool to have.
It's very dimensional flower.
Yeah. It's like a skinny stem, but then it's like
it's a lot. Fan. It's like different from why you prefer them over yarrow. Yarrow comes across as just like another like circular flower.
No, that's true.
And
and it's more linear.
It's just the way they're shaped. The stalk is like boxy.
Yeah, it's true. So status, I absolutely love. Things I would change. I am going to plant them out a couple weeks earlier next year. They're fairly cold tolerant and they can handle that. And also the plugs arrived like at the same time tulips started to get going. And so it was a lot to have like our season starting while also planting like a bunch of time sensitive plug trays at the same time. So I'm going to bump up status to be planted before like our sales start.
Are you still doing field next year or tunnel?
So everything in a tunnel is better.
We talked about this before.
Yeah, we did.
This was all choreographed.
Well, our summary is everything in a tunnel is better. And so the status in the tunnel like blew away the field status. The field status was great. I loved it. I used as much as I could, but the tunnel status was like a third bigger. The foliage was like much healthier. It was so much happier. And so I'm going to do probably a tray in the tunnel and then 2 trays again in the field, which is a full row at 9-inch spacing for us. So I have more status. I have status earlier because it's in the tunnel and, just some of the better. So maybe I'll have status earlier in May, which would be a blessing because that time is always tricky for us in May to have flowers. So status is like, again, like the Potomac's, a double thumbs up. I have really 0 complaints about it. It doesn't need netting. It doesn't need corralling. The bugs don't bother it. In spring, we get a lot of rain. And so it did get like a leaf spot there in May when there was one week where we got like 3-4 inches and it just was like wet. Can't change anything about that in the field, but you obviously can in the tunnel. And that's why the tunnel.
We got 20 inches in like 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was a lot. So having tunnel status will be helpful, but tunnel space is so premium. I'm not going to allocate like a full row in the tunnel for it, but probably a tray's worth. So we absolutely loved status. So those were our 3 that I would say overlapped between spring and summer. So now we're going to talk truly about summer flowers.
Okay. Got it. I'm sorry I'm not locked on the camera. I'm just watching the cats.
So you have to because people are so
supposed to be talking
they do not care.
As if we're looking right at you.
It's like how other people don't care about
Imagine a producer that was just like doing something ridiculous behind the camera the whole time and you're supposed to stay locked into.
No. It's like when you talk about your kids and other people are like, we don't care as much.
Not mine. Yeah.
Like
I got it.
We have our own cats. We don't care.
All right.
Okay. Let's talk about the like main staple of summer, which is zinnias.
Zinnia.
I could not hate them more right now, so maybe you should take lead on this.
Zinnias are, we like to grow big zinnias.
Denary.
And I get that some people that sell them to florists prefer the smaller ones because they don't treat them as a focal.
Yeah, Oklahoma.
So Carmine, whatever, right?
Oklahoma and like Queen and stuff are smaller.
Is Oklahoma known for zinnias?
No.
Why is one named after it?
I don't know. Maybe they were bred. That series was bred here by like OSU or something.
They're kind of like blackberries here. Blackberries grow really well.
Maybe, yeah. I'll have to look into it.
Everybody grows zinnias here. Everybody. So they are more of a natural plant, but they're not without their flaws.
Yeah. So
you don't like them from a labor perspective. She tells me all the time. So let me just give you her notes.
Don't act like I'm annoying. This is your
Let me tell you, every day when she's finished, she's like, I'm done. Like last year, we were just like, she was done, but that was because they were getting attacked by a whitefly infestation. That's when you were done. You were like, cut them all down, burn them all down. Mm-hmm. This year, you're still like, cut them all down, burn them all down.
Yeah.
But we've had numerous issues with just, I forgot to run irrigation for about 2 weeks on them. I thought it was on, but it wasn't. So a lot of them started to die. And that's when we go between the crazies here, where it's like you get 20 inches and then you won't get rain for a month.
Yeah.
So it'll shut off, and you got to kind of stay on top of it here where it's not like reliable.
Yeah.
And so some of them started to die.
Yeah. So we like.
You did your own seed starting for our first 2 rows. So that was like what? How many did we calculate that was? Like 800, 700?
Yeah. Yeah.
About, give or take.
Yeah, there's like 400 a row. And there was 2 rows.
It was like 396 or something that
like
we're supposed to fit in.
It was like 400 a row.
Right. You didn't enjoy the seed starting process anymore.
Seed starter.
Last year we did a lot, but now we're like producing enough that it just becomes less economical to do so. So then you bought more.
I bought plugs,
You bought plugs, and they came in and they were looking like jacked.
They did not
like
look
30%
good.
loss.
It was bad.
Their stems were like super stretched out and thin and wispy.
It was not good quality.
And we didn't think they were going to make it. But like some of the stuff, you're so good at it though. You get in the row and you'll be like, they look awful. But like everybody from 5 feet away be like, they look beautiful. They look incredible.
Yeah, on social media, my zinnias look banger. But then for me in person, I'm like, I hate them.
And you really want like, you know, we want the 7 to 10 day zinnia product.
So the problem with zinnias,
you hate harvesting them because they take a lot of like inspection.
Yeah, that's not as automated.
You have to wobble them and see if their stem is ready.
Yeah, and if you strip them too hard, they'll like crack in your hand.
Crack them, they're more fragile, they're not a tough stock.
You can't stuff them in a bucket as much because they'll like...
And when you have those Venarias, they're probably even harder with the cracking.
Yeah.
Because they're like a big old...
Yeah, and you can't let the petals like, or the blooms overlap much in a bucket or then they get bent. So you have to like really fan them out. Whereas like snapdragons, you can just like have them like soldiers in a bucket. But the thing with zinnias, and I can actually link this podcast episode that I listened to with Ellen Frost and Lisa Mason-Ziegler that I think many of you probably have even heard, where they talk about what's called zinnia meltdown. And it's basically where you have what looks like a
nervous breakdown,
which is what I'm having. It looks like a proper zinnia that you harvest, but then like 2 days later, it's browning or the stem has like turned after harvest. But then the petals start browning or the stem just turns to mush in the water and it just like melts down in various ways. And they discuss and troubleshoot why this can happen. And a lot of it comes down to the health of the actual plant. And so unlike other flowers, like we talked about status, like some of them had leaf spot or there was some stuff going on, but like the bloom itself, once you cut it, wasn't affected. Or like we had some powdery mildew on our ranunculus, but I could still cut them and it was fine. It might have maybe slowed down production a bit, but the bloom health once harvested was fine. And that's not the case with zinnias. And so if the plant
Did you actually have meltdown?
We're having meltdown on some of them, yeah. Which is why I'm in such a frizzle all the time to you.
Okay.
And so one of our big marketing points for our customers is the longevity of our flowers. And so I really hate harvesting something and putting something in a bouquet that I don't feel as like confident behind because it could, and I've tested them in the house. Like I've had bouquets that, you know, that maybe didn't sell or my daughter harvested and they last like the 7 days and they look perfect. And you're like, well, this is why everyone loves zinnias. And then I'll have some others that 3 days start to brown. And it's like, I don't like that volatility and inconsistency when our whole brand is like, we last longer than grocery store flowers and they're premium and specialty. I don't like that.
But was there anything you could even replace them with? Well,
so that's the big discussion to think through in our crop plan for next year is like, I'm not going to be able to get rid of them, but could we shrink our reliance on them a bit where they become more like a secondary focal than a main focal so that I could really only harvest like the premium ones? I don't know. We'll have to talk about it. But zinnias are important. They're beautiful. They're popular. They're the classic summer flower. They look beautiful on the farm because they have to bloom before you harvest so people can see them from the road. They have a lot of value, so they're not going anywhere, but I find them to be less wonderful than a lot of other flowers that you could grow. And
yeah, this year they didn't grow like last year too. Like once we corrected the whitefly issue, they turned into like bushes.
Yeah, we don't have that this year.
This year they've been probably like 60 to 70% of what they seemed to get to last year, and we don't know why.
Yeah, and I'm gonna like suffer through these next 2 weeks to finish our sales and our subscriptions with our customers with mainly zinnias. I just don't like that. So it's a crop plan issue. And I know a lot of people probably are watching this, and I posted in the AFCFG Facebook group, which is a private Facebook group for members. And I posted about my zinnia woes, and a lot of the big farms that we probably all follow on Instagram, a lot of those growers responded and they were like, we hate zinnias too. We try to really reduce them in our crop plan. And I find that interesting. When you start as a flower farmer, there's very clear lists of things to start growing because the seed cost is cheaper. They're easier to grow. They produce a lot,
multi-stem.
Yeah, but then like as you scale up, you kind of start making different changes. I think maybe like the sunflowers in that category. We were talking about the varieties, and it's like as you grow and scale up, you actually kind of maybe phase out things that really launched you and you dial in a bit more like as you experience them and that sort of thing. So, well,
the ones you like more are the ones we're going to get to.
Yes.
Marigolds.
Yeah, we'll talk about what has gone well. So
Lizzies.
Zinnias aren't going anywhere, but my desire would be to rely on them a bit less and have maybe like...
Do you think that means we would shift away from Benaries and just get them more as like filler status that are more like tougher?
Well, so that's one of the things
like
is like
ones?
They say that the Oklahoma series is less susceptible to meltdown. I don't have direct experience to say.
Because we cut them completely out this year.
The reason I didn't like doing Oklahomas is because the bloom itself is so small and the stem can be a bit thin. It felt like I still have to harvest them at the same amount of time and labor as I would a Benary, but it didn't feel like it was carrying that same weight in a bouquet, almost like the Gonfrina. It's just like, this is a pain to harvest and it's small when you put it in a bouquet, but you still need to charge what it's worth. So let's make it more worth it.
Right.
Was kind of my view.
Stay tuned.
And most growers like around here, like those that sell flowers in their driveway or like just in their own personal gardens because they're easy to grow. They don't typically grow Benaries. So when they look at our zinnias, they're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen one that big, or I've never seen that color. And I think that helps differentiate a bit from maybe like the dollar store seed packet zinnia. But yeah, so you can commiserate with us in the comments if you'd like about zinnias.
The funniest thing was we ordered, was it Johnny Seeds that you ordered through, or who did you order through?
For plugs or seeds?
For the zinnias.
The seeds.
It was Ball.
For the plugs.
Yeah.
Ball, but it was Raker that grew them.
Right.
Ball
but you said Allison also had a really terrible experience and she got them from somebody else.
Well, so follow up to that story. They sat at the Tulsa airport for 2 days. So that's why, because it was Grow and Sell, and Grow and Sell sent her a replacement tray, and they look, I have to send you the picture, they look perfect.
Oh, okay.
And ours wasn't Grow and Sell, so I was like, I want Grow and Sell zinnia plugs.
Raker said, I don't know how you do this. They say they don't ship well, and they don't warrant them at all.
Yeah, so we got crud plugs and Raker.
So I don't know how you sell a product that you're just like, sorry, we can't, these don't ship well, but we're going to ship them anyways, but we're not going to back them up.
We're going to not back them up. Whereas Grow and Sell was like, here's a new tray, and they were perfect and beautiful. So we're going with Grow and Sell.
All right.
In the future. But that's zinnias. They are what they are.
That's it. They're like the summer disappointments. And they're not a disappointment. They're just a much more
volatile.
They're volatile and they stress you out more. And it's been 2 years now where the zinnias are they've not been the most fun summer flower.
Yeah, they're a hard launch. And then once they start blooming, they become fresher. They can't go in a cooler.
They take a lot of initial setup to get them branching where you're constantly deadheading.
Well, so I mentioned the AFCFG group that I posted in, and Lori Hernandez responded. She grows for a 3-acre farm, which you guys probably follow. She does a great job. She responded and she says one of the reasons they dropped zinnias is because you can't put them in a cooler, and for efficiency's sake, she wants to be able to make all of her summer bouquets at the timeline that works for her and her employees and put them in a cooler, and she can't do that with zinnias. And if we didn't have them in, celosia, marigold, Lizzie's, sunflowers, snaps could all go in a cooler.
But I thought you were testing them in the cooler and they seemed to be okay.
I don't think they were happy.
No, you think they were?
Yeah, I think that shortened the vase life.
Interesting.
So they didn't like die, but they like didn't do as well. And I think she made a good point.
This is a completely like meandering path.
I know.
Through zinnia.
I meant to tell you this, but she made a really good point. I'm talking about like efficiency.
Everyone's like, I can't even take notes on this section because
No, but like I think it's important to listen to what Lori said, where she's like, she had the flexibility to, let's say, harvest Thursday, like all week, make bouquets Thursday night and into Friday, put them in a cooler for Saturday, and you don't have that kind of flexibility with zinnias because you can't harvest them as much ahead of time.
There's no buffering.
Yeah, you can't store them. Once you make
like
the bouquets,
1 day ahead of time.
Yeah, once you make the bouquets, they have to stay in the cottage. They can't go in the cooler. And if we grow any more than we are
they the only one we grow that can't be coolered?
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
Get it off.
Well, you can't put basil in the cooler, but we can talk about basil, getting the axe. We're not growing
Okay, let's move on to basil then.
Okay, well, basil. So I like basil because I like the scent. It's easy to grow. It produces a lot of stems. Basil's great. I didn't cut on it at all. Like it's a completely uncut quarter row out there. And the reason being, we get so warm, and now that we have our fancier flower stand and we're open longer hours in the summer, they wilt. And we don't have a cooled stand. And so again, from a quality control perspective, I don't want to have the stand open at noon on a Saturday and they look at the bouquets and the tips of the basil is starting to wilt. Like it's not worth it to me to have that quality concern or that selling timeline constraint when I could grow just another color of celosia and not be concerned at all in how it's going to respond. So if I could have basil like in May, when we have like a high of in the 70s, I would put basil in a bouquet. So again, like with that, you were talking about geographic issues. Like if you're up in the north and it stays in the 70s, it's like I would totally put basil in your bouquets. But for us, it was kind of like the zinnias. It's like I'm thinking too much.
That's so funny because last year you really leaned on basil.
But because we didn't have the stand and we just we had our like more like farmer's market style stand and it was like a couple hours. That was sufficient, but now that the stand could be open for like 5 hours,
right,
it changes it a bit. So I'm pro basil as a cut flower, but I don't want to feel constrained with temperatures because I use it. So it's getting the cut.
All right.
Basil is out. We have 2 more flowers left because
zinnias might be out. Basil is definitely out.
Basil is zinnias I would say is demoted.
Demoted.
Not fired. Basil's fired. Zinnias are demoted.
Demoted.
Okay, we have 2 flowers left. Celosia, I just mentioned. So we bought plugs. We planted celosia in the field and in the tunnel. And surprise, surprise.
They grow.
The celosia in the tunnel is so much better than the field. I don't know if it's because it got waterlogged again in May when they were planted that it stunted them, but my field celosia is just a lot shorter and not as much foliage, and so it's not bulking up the bouquets quite as much. It's more of like a very thin, skinny stem in the bouquet rather than like the chunkier filler that I would prefer they be, and that's what the tunnel celosia looks like. But I absolutely love celosia. It is so easy to harvest. It's so easy to arrange with. They're not fussy. They're not bug prone. The grasshoppers like to like hug the stems and like they hang out, but they're not doing a bunch of damage. So next year, I just want to grow a lot more colors. I ordered too late because I made the quick pivot to order plugs. And so I was left with what was available, which was like salmon colored, which if you know me, I'm not into the like the beige and pastel world. And so Allison loves the color. If you guys know Allison, that'll make you guys chuckle. Allison loves the salmon color, but next year I'm gonna do more like purple and red and orange and like the bright colors for celosia. But it's wonderful and super heat tolerant. It's in our tunnel, which can get into the 90s, even with shade cloth. And 90s,
it is hundreds.
Yeah, but it's loving its life. And so if you're in a warmer climate, celosia has to be on your grow list. The varieties, because I know we'll get asked, I've done mainly Selway. I find the Celosia Sunday to be, that's the plume one. I find it to be a little aggressive and a little much like a, what's it called? Like a feather duster. It's just like a little too much pomp and circumstance. And
you're liking the little the littler guys.
The Selway. And I don't want to grow them
like this big.
Yeah.
Like little
but
florets
the stem
on the
is
side.
thick and it has a lot of foliage, and so it's like a really good filler. I can't with this cat, you guys.
She's trying to attack your hair. You just might as well let her sit on your lap.
Okay. And I'm not going to grow the brain coral one. It's just too funky for me. I can't do it. So Selway is what we're doing. I'm just going to change the colors up next year, probably purple, red, and orange, because it'll bloom in June, and that's a great bright, bold color palette to go with sunflowers and snapdragons and all of that. So like almost no cons with celosia, except I just think they got a little too wet at initial planting, and that set them back a bit in the field, but I can't control the rain amounts, so it is what it is. I'm still cutting on it. It's fine quality. It's just very different from the tunnel. Last flower, the preeminent,
the glorious,
I know,
the marvelous,
the queen of summer, the one we did a video of last week. So if you want to like really deep dive this
2 weeks
flower,
ago.
yeah, 2 weeks ago. If you want to really deep dive this flower, go watch that video. But it's Lizzie-anthus.
Yeah, do we need to say much more about it?
I know. Well, I'll give like a quick run.
Just go watch the other video.
Just go watch the other video, yeah.
We're not going to do a video dedicated to these other summer flowers.
Yeah, they're not worthy.
Go give us the watch time.
Like Lizzie, I know, we'd love the watch time. But we grew all in our tunnel, and we planted them in March. They just finished thanks to our cooler. They're incredible. They're never going anywhere. Go watch that video for our favorite varieties and tips and tricks on how we grow them. I don't think Lizzie's is the best choice for a year 1 or 2 farm per se, because you really need to have a customer base that will pay that $3 plus a stem amount to be profitable on them. But they definitely should be on like your goal sheet to work towards having, because they're unique and different and wonderful. They'll set you apart from other growers, and your customers will love the vase life. And so next year, I don't think we're necessarily going to increase the amount that we're going to grow, but I'm going to probably dial in a little bit the varieties, maybe plant them a little earlier. But full pros on Lizzie's. I don't have anything negative about Lizzie's. Do you have any negative?
Like you said, they don't have much pests.
Mm-mm.
They grew enormous. They were so tall.
Like a third bigger than the field. So you can grow field.
Our only negative to them is just kind of a general.
Oh, customers.
You do need to balance how many you're going to invest in for, your customer base.
Yeah.
And we are learning that summer is just slower.
Yeah.
And everybody says this, but we kind of wondered here at our scale whether there was going to be a big drop off from spring to summer, because spring was monster. And most people will tell you spring's monster, so it's not new. But our pace probably got cut in half from
yeah.
spring.
Yeah, that's why I intimated that
we had more Lizzies than we really needed.
Yeah, which is why we're not going to grow more next year probably. Even if we grow in sales and customers, I think it'll kind of be, that's the sweet spot amount.
Right.
Because they're so expensive. It would be better to, like I was saying, the sunflowers. It's a lot easier to leave sunflowers out in the field unharvested than Lizzie's.
Right.
So grow slowly with them. Don't overplant them. But yeah, let's give some concluding general summer thoughts. Now that we've done you kind of were just
spring
about that.
Spring was very bursty. We opened Saturdays. We had no CSA or sub set up, so it was just first come first serve, and it was
like insanity,
run around like a chicken with your head cut off. You guys saw those videos.
Yeah,
summer has been a slower burn, not to just
open for longer.
Right, we decided to open Friday nights,
which has been helpful,
and it's been this is where we're really happy that we've set up a retail drive-through stand, because it really does seem to come down to a lot of piece, like little groups here and there, like grab 5 here, grab 4 there. And when you're open a little bit longer, I think that just tends to,
it's not like crowd managed, but yeah, it's the slower
we set up a much more flexible model. And I think next summer, if we can, we should probably move towards even maybe some more time.
I think so.
That we're open to just let the filter of customers come through. They won't hear the donkey.
No. Okay, you guys, I have to tell you though, you've seen the cattle that's outside our property, which is a different ranch, a mysterious male donkey showed up a couple weeks ago. Not the ranchers, no one on the road, no one will claim said mystery donkey, but the herd has accepted him. And so now every once in a while, we just hear like the loudest donkey noises, and he just came like streaking across the pasture. Right. So we have a new mystery donkey. But yes, so you made a good point that validated the Lori comment, which is like, if we're going to open the stand more frequently from an efficiency standpoint, we should grow flowers that can be made and managed really easily out of a cooler. You guys have lost him. He is no longer accessible.
She was starting to do the jump thing behind you, so I'm trying to distract him.
But did you hear what I said?
Lori.
Every wife is like, I've been here before. I was gonna say, if we're gonna open the stand more in the summer for more like little piecemeal and stuff, like you do want to become really efficient where you can do some like bulk harvesting, and then you can manage bouquets out of a cooler rather than like having a zinnia or a basil issue that like constrains you more when.
Well, it sounds like if you had zinnias, then you could move towards, those would be the ones you harvest and are available on Saturdays or Friday night, Saturday.
Right.
And then maybe you start making bouquets with other.
That's a great idea.
More marigolds.
You don't have to use the same recipe every time. What? We didn't talk about, shut up. You're so stupid. No, we didn't talk about marigolds.
I'm filled with ideas, y'all.
You guys, have you ever considered not using the same recipe every single time?
You're like, but I'm a robot. I came up with my weekly recipe. Get adjusted.
You've not programmed in another recipe.
What? Non-zinnia recipe. No substitutes for sugar. So sugar-free. You need a sugar-free recipe.
We didn't talk
gluten-free flower bouquets.
Shut up. We didn't talk about marigolds.
Oh yeah. Yeah, marigolds.
Yeah.
Lizzie's is the queen. You're probably going to say marigolds.
We're going to grow so many more marigolds next year. They don't melt down. They don't need corralling. They don't have as much bug damage, and they weren't drama. I grew the Cocoa series, Cocoa Gold and Cocoa Deep Orange. I prefer the Deep Orange because the Cocoa Gold looks like a sunflower yellow. And so in the recipe, I think it would have been better not to have so much yellow. But marigolds were all-stars. They don't come with all the drama of the zinnias. You can put them in the cooler. I love them. We're growing more of them.
I'm going to hate terminating them. No bug damage.
Yeah. Eric,
they grow like a
tree trunk at the bottom. But they were wonderful.
What's their spacing? Still 9 inches?
Still 9 inches. They branch beautifully. So marigolds, A+, will grow more of them, Cocoa series. That's the summation. But back to our meta thoughts.
But will there be an issue with their aroma?
Yeah, so this is like hit or miss. People love or hate.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Marigold aroma, or like, does it turn customers away?
Well, so word on the street is most of the scent is located in their foliage. And so if you're concerned, the more foliage you strip, it brings down the scent. I don't mind the scent. Eric doesn't mind the scent.
I liked them more than peonies.
Which is, yeah. So it's like a love or hate. I've never gotten feedback that people didn't like the smell, but the bouquets only had like one. I don't think I would do more than 2 stems. Okay. Just to be sensitive to that. But the bud is so big, and the reason I like them is it's a thick stem, and they tend to at least have one side branch on them. So it's like bulky in the bouquet, and it feels weighty. So just even using 2, I think is great. I think the biggest takeaways are summer drops off a lot more than spring, which is logical and makes sense, but we very much, she's like stalking me, very much experienced that. I think next year we will, like Eric said, probably open up a little bit more to kind of like grab more chunks of summer time than our like super concentrated spring Saturdays. I will probably work really hard to reduce our need of zinnias, even though they won't fully go anywhere. And I am extremely thankful Eric built a cooler in like 6 days.
Oh, jeez.
That's my takeaway. We had a great summer. We're excited about what's to come. We have a fall. We're going to take August off, so I'm really looking forward to that. And then not from content and stuff, but just like from the farming stuff. Like I cleaned up the cottage and I did some like.
Yeah, we're trying to. One of the things you learn as you become a more mature flower farmer is you take the opportunity to plod
Yeah.
Get a task done, get a bed flipped.
Don't
wait to like do it all at once. And so that's been our mentality, and we've been super motivated because baby number 5 is on the way.
We're on a deadline.
And if we wait for it all this fall, which is going to be intense,
you will quit.
I will quit, and I'll say, why am I doing this?
The farm is over.
The farm is shut down.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
But yeah,
so we're getting a lot done, and
exciting things to come.
Yeah.
And I hope you enjoyed the cat content because it's who we are.
Yeah, we'll probably box them up for the next one. Not box them up, but like put them in their pen.
Put them in an Amazon box. Yeah, we're gonna get comments about that.
Right.
We'll see how. Nope, don't you dare.
Yeah. So thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Yeah. I'm not gonna say we hope you found it useful because we know it's useful.
I'll see you in the next video.
See you in the next video.
Ow!
Oh, no. Guys. No.
Why is she turned on me?
She wants to get up to your hair so bad.
I'm never wearing this dress again, apparently. Luna, this is completely...
She wants to get to your hair so
I know
bad.
you're jealous with your black hair, but it's not. She's blonde envious.
That's...